Hello, and welcome to In the DeNovo, a series of video interviews with today's thought leaders on everything to do with treasury management, product management, and instant and faster payments, covering topics from payments to industry trends and other exciting subjects coming in the future. I'm Will Grace. I'm the host, founder, and managing director here at DeNovo Treasury. We're a consulting firm focused on helping financial institution leaders define strategy, transform client experience, and grow revenue in the treasury management space. Thanks for joining us and staying in the know with In the DeNovo. Right, and sell on that value. Is that kind of how you coach them to have?
Yeah, my approach to pricing, and this is actually what I was talking to, I do some mentoring for SCORE as well, the Service Corps of Retired Executives. And I was meeting with a young woman just Monday night, and we were kind of, that's what she wanted to know, is like, how do I price my service? Right? It's actually a marketing automation service for dance studios. Cool. But if you, in business school, we were taught that there are three approaches to pricing, right? There's cost plus,
right?
There's competitive, and there's value, right? So I either figure out what my costs are and add a markup, or I price based on what my competitors are doing, or I price based on value, right? And I've turned that into a set of steps, right? The first thing we have to do is we have to understand our costs, because if I price below cost, I have a hobby. I don't have a business, right? I can't make any money. And we'll have interesting conversations about loss leaders and all of that kind of stuff. But fundamentally, if I can't cover my costs, I don't have a business. So that's really working to understand, kind of the total, kind of what we might call today the total cost of ownership, but it's the total cost of delivering the product or service. So it's your time, it's your materials, right? It's really thinking about, it's a little bit about, allocation of expenses, so kind of cost of goods sold, and all of that, to kind of say what's the lowest price I can charge and still be profitable, right? The second step is you look at your competitors, right? And one of the things that Jobs to be Done teaches us about competitors is competitors aren't people who do what you do. Competitors are people who solve the same problem that you solve. They get the same job done, right? That's why we look at, taxi cabs versus Uber versus the bus versus owning a car, right? It's all of the different alternatives. So again, just as we expand costs, we expand competition. So if if the problem you're solving for your customers, who else is solving that problem for them, even if they're not providing the same service as you are, and what are they charging, right? Because now I have a point of comparison, right? And I can say, okay, here's what I need to charge in order to make a profit, right? Here's what my competitors are charging, right? And I'm not necessarily saying price below your competitor, because I don't want to do low cost provider stuff, right? But I at least need to understand where I am, right? Do I think my product is better than theirs? Then I can charge more, right? If I think I can save money by shaving off some features that people don't use, then maybe I can price less. But it's not because I'm trying to undercut, it's because I'm offering a different solution. And this kind of, so there's another thing that we play with, which is this blue ocean strategy approach, which is about competing where the competition isn't. But it's also a very interesting framework for understanding how people value what's going on in the market. What are the competitors offering, and how valuable are they? How well are they performing the job? That if you apply that blue ocean strategy approach with a Jobs to be Done lens, you get a really interesting perspective in what's going on in the competitive landscape, right? And then the last piece of it, so now that I understand where I am in relation to my competition, the last piece of it is like, okay, what's the value I'm providing? And how are my customers measuring the value that they're getting when I solve the jobs that I'm solving, right? And some of that's very easy and it's quantitative, right? I will save you money, right? We love that one, right? Because saving money is a value that businesses have, right? It's like, all things being equal, I would rather spend less money than more. So following that sort of strategizer approach to looking at jobs to be done, we look at gains and pains, right? And how do we measure those gains and pains? So, in your world, with a payments function, right? Clearly, one of those is going to be cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the per transaction cost? What's the monthly subscription? However we do that, right? What's the cost? And reducing their cost is a benefit to them, whether we view it as a gain because they're spending less money, or reducing a pain because they're spending less money. It doesn't matter, right? But what are the other values that they have, right? Convenience may be one, right? Security is one. Trust is one. Right? But it's also that sort of, it's been a while since I've been in this space. So this is where you're really going to help me out, right? If I'm talking to a CFO, if I'm talking to a controller about their treasury management function, right, at the end of the day, what is that controller looking for? Right? What makes, what keeps them, it's kind of like what keeps them up at night. It's probably not the per transaction cost of a credit card transaction.
No.
It's probably not the cost of positive pay.
No, you're right. And it's going to be different depending on the size of the financial institution. And, a lot of times it could be deposits,
Mm-hmm.
it could be deposits. It could be their Fed funds rate. I mean, there's just going to be different things
right.
depending upon.
I was just popped into my head, and I was thinking about the virtual vault product that we had.
Yeah.
Right. Where funds that were deposited into a retail outlet's safe became immediately available to the owner, right? Because we knew that the money was coming to the bank. Right? It was in the safe, it was going to get there whenever it was going to get there. Right. So, what do I want? I want the freedom to use my money.
Yep.
Right. So maybe freedom becomes that higher value that we have. Right. And now we can really ask those hard questions. It's kind of, as I said, it's kind of that MasterCard approach, right? It's what's the value to you of knowing that you have the freedom to use those funds once you've received them, but before they've been deposited in the bank.
Right.
And those are kind of the fun questions that you get to. And that's, that's where this conversation about jobs and understanding the value of the jobs and understanding the value of those higher order jobs, right, those non-functional jobs, really becomes an eye-opener, because we can price that way, but now we can sit back and we can say, okay, I'm going to design my virtual vault product, right?
Yeah.
What are the features that I can build into that create a measurable gain or reduction in pain for that controller, for that CFO, for that branch manager, right? For that regional, whoever it is, right? Because when we talk about jobs to be, and we use, in the examples of jobs to be done, right, they tend to be easy, right? We talk about simple things because we're talking about simple things. But if you're thinking about a business to business environment, there are multiple stakeholders, and those multiple stakeholders have different jobs that they're trying to balance at the same time. In the consumer space, automobiles are a great example. Like, why do we buy the car that we buy? Right? We look at the factors, right? Does it get good gas mileage? Does it have the room for all the people that we need to transport on a regular basis? Does it have the storage, the cargo capacity that we need? Is it safe enough? Right? And ultimately it's kind of like, do I like it? Right? Does it speak to who I am? But there are lots of different factors. There are lots of different use cases. There are lots of different functional, emotional, psychological, and social jobs. So we start looking at those, and asking our customers, how do you know you've achieved success on that job? So now we can build features that do those things. Some of those features are going to be part of the product itself, right? And this is where I try to be really careful about phrase, right? Because the product isn't just the piece of software that I'm putting into them, right? That's the, Jeffrey Moore called it the core product, right? That kind of basic functionality. Right? But if you look at everything you need to do in order to satisfy the need of your customer, that's the whole product. That's going to include onboarding. It's going to include support. It's going to include, and again, we were playing in this space when we were working together, right? How do we train people how to use the product?
Right.
Because if they don't know how to use it, they're not going to get the value out of it.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So how do we look at all of those things in order to satisfy those jobs?
I love it when a good conversation comes together. We are so lucky to have friends willing to sit down and talk with us about the industry. For more content like the video we shared today, check out our website at DeNovoTreasury.com and our YouTube channel at DeNovo Treasury. Thanks for joining us today for In the DeNovo. See you next time.